Welcome into a special edition of the FutureSox Podcast. My name is Elijah Evans, and I am here today with Sean Burke, Chicago White Sox pitching prospect. I'm really excited to have Sean on with me and talk a little bit about where he's at. He's in the process of rehabbing right now, working back towards getting on the mound and making his return this season. And we're really excited just to hear from Sean about himself and where he's at in his pitching progression. So welcome in, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming on and making the time for us. We'll start here. I don't want to dive too directly into, everything you've got going on right now. We'll go back a little bit and give people, our listeners that don't know you all that well, a chance to get to know you a little bit beyond. So you were drafted in 2021, right? Coming out of Maryland. Yeah. And then in your first season, right, you had your first professional year, right? You pitched a few games in 21 that season when you first got drafted. You ended up making 5 starts with Kannapolis. And then jumping into 2022, you climbed from Winston and then Birmingham and ended up even finishing with Charlotte in your first professional season. It was just a really impressive year all around. I think it kind of boosted you onto prospect radar for White Sox fans, 137 strikeouts that season. What was it like first getting drafted by the White Sox and then just having such a lengthy, successful first professional season?
It was cool. I mean, coming from Massachusetts, you don't see a ton of guys, or at least I didn't see a ton of guys that I grew up with or saw playing against some guys older than me that were getting drafted. So once that whole process kind of started, the end of high school into kind of college, it started to click my junior year, hey, this is actually a reality for me. And it was cool to just go through the whole process and see, meet with different teams, see how different teams are, going about the draft process, see what different teams have to offer, what their philosophies are. And then obviously, landed with the White Sox and, meeting everybody there, meeting the staff, meeting the guys in the front office. It's been good. I mean, I've had a good time. I've met a lot of people that, I'll probably be friends with post baseball for the rest of my life. So, I mean, going through that whole thing was it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going even back further a little bit, I know you were a guy that had Tommy John in high school, right? So it was that's a big thing with baseball right now. I know that's one of the hot topics around baseball right now. It's just this question of how do you prevent pitching injuries, right? So what was it like for you having that so early? And do you think it helped you in a weird way be more successful in college and then once you got drafted?
I think 100% helping me more successful in college. I think that I'd say I was a relatively late bloomer in high school. I wasn't really ever a guy that was getting recruited by huge big time schools. I mean, I'd say Maryland was one of my best offers coming out of high school. And it was kind of a situation where I took the visit there. I loved the school, loved the visit. It was a conversation with my coaches, my parents, if you want to play this game at the highest level, that's going to be your best bet to go to the best school you can and then kind of just bet on yourself once you're there. So Tommy John, coming out of my senior year, I was obviously super upset when it happened. That was the first real injury I've had in any sport that's sidelined me for a significant amount of time. And, when you're 17, 18 years old, that's kind of the end of your world. But spending that year rehabbing and getting to see how the college game works and kind of adjusting to that next level without really having to play right away, I think was huge because I was able to sit back, watch the mistakes other freshmen made and then kind of learn the lessons you learn your first year of college without any risk of failing. Basically, I was able to kind of get out of the season what people get out playing the whole season without playing and having to, struggle on the field. And then that next fall in preseason, I got my fair share of struggles out of the way. I had a real rough first fall preseason with Maryland, but then once that season started, my redshirt year, I had no issues and I kind of hit the ground running. So I think looking back on it now, that was something that really allowed me to grow, pay attention to my body more, get stronger in the weight room, put on some more weight, kind of look at my pitching arsenal and really start to fine tune some things. And I was in a weird situation where I got Tommy John, pitched 4 games, I think it was my redshirt freshman year, and then COVID hit. So it was as soon as I was getting back on my feet, COVID hit and knocked the season out. But honestly, looking back at that too, that was just kind of more of the same. All right, here's some time where I'm not going to have to face competition. Let's start, working more and more and starting to more fine tune my stuff. And then I really just had that one year, my junior year, to go out and show everything. And then, going into that first year of pro ball in 2022, that was kind of the first year I was all right, I've kind of been basically majority of the time training the last 3 or 4 years and kind of fine tuning what I want to do. And this is the year I can go and show everything I've been working on. That's accumulated over those 3-4 years.
Right. No, that's interesting. I mean, it's obviously you never want to have to deal with getting surgery. You
Yeah.
don't want to deal with COVID and all these other factors, right? But I think from a lot of guys that you hear around baseball right now, like there's something to be said for having a year where you're focused
Yeah,
on
100%.
nothing but your body and your training and all these other aspects that goes into being a successful baseball player, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's things that I would not have even paid attention to or learned if it wasn't for, that, I guess, 2 years with COVID and
Right.
and the Tommy John there.
So there's pros and cons for sure, but at
Yeah.
least you were able to take something out of that and work
Yeah.
off that. And then going into 2022, what were some of the things that you, I guess, part of what you learned during those few years, and then in addition to just your first full off season with the organization, what helped you to be so successful early in your minor league career, and then just continue to, to work a full workload of innings that season and really just look solid throughout the year?
Yeah, I mean, going to that year, that was the first year. I had still had some blips. Like the elbow would get a little bit more sore, shoulder get a little bit more sore my first year in college, that junior year, just because it was my first time really pitching an extended amount of innings. Because in Massachusetts, you play 20 games in high school, and it's like you're not throwing 80 to 100 innings like you are in professional baseball or in college. So that first season going into 2022, my main goals were just to throw strikes and be healthy. And, that was kind of my entire focus going in, was just like, I'm going to throw strikes and I'm going to stay healthy the whole year. And, fortunately I was able to do both of those at a much, I guess the strikes thing at a much higher rate than college. That was kind of my one knock on me, I guess, in college, that I was more of people would call it raw pitcher, where the stuff was pretty good, but like the pitchability and the actual, command aspect of the pitches still had work to do. So that was a huge emphasis of me going into the 2022 season. And I think really in high A, I spent about a month there. I thought that was still a little bit similar to college, where it was like, if guys have good stuff, you can kind of beat guys with good stuff there. And then, once I got to Double A, the beginning of it went real smooth. I think the first month or so I was there, I was throwing the ball really well. And then I hit a little bit of like a rough spot in, I think, late June, like into July, where it was really, up until that point, the only time in my life where my arm and everything felt amazing, and I was going out there and I was getting hit. And that kind of took me a little bit to adjust to that, because that's never happened to me in my life, where like I'm going out there and I feel great, but I'm just not performing well. And I think once the All-Star break hit, I want to say, like the next start after that, it kind of I started to get more comfortable, started to change some things up, just talking to, some of my pitching guys I have back home, and started to more look at like how I'm getting guys out, how I'm sequencing guys, instead of just worried about just the pure stuff. And I feel like that last, I want to say, like month and a half I had in Birmingham went really, really well for me. And that was kind of when that time period, I was like, wow, like this is what it really should feel like to be, a true pitcher.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers right now. That was over your last 7 starts in Birmingham was 8 runs allowed. So that was, you were feeling yourself, right? Right? I think the up and down is also normal, right? Like you had that middle of the season, right? June, July, like you said, like you hadn't thrown that many innings ever, right? And it's a difficult thing for pitchers to transition to a life where you're now throwing so much more than you ever threw, and you have to keep doing it for 6 months straight, right? So that's very understandable to have that, that downturn mid-season. And then you see that with a lot of guys, even guys that pitched in college, not necessarily even high school draft picks, right? Like it's a totally different workload to adjust to.
I think that too, along with just like the guys like seeing you more and more, because especially in that Southern League, that there's only
for sure
8 teams in that. So like I feel like I was playing the same teams over and over, so it's like you got to find new ways to get these guys out that you're facing every other week or so.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what was in terms of your arsenal, kind of in 2022, right? Were there any pitches that you really felt like took a step forward in that first year, and that allowed you to kind of just become that pitcher that you were blossoming into in that August run?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I mean, the fastball for me, I've always had kind of like a bigger ride fastball that I've been able to generate swing and miss with. That was really that first year I pitched in college. That year that COVID shortened it. Like I really went to that season with a fastball and then a baby kind of get me over curveball and like a show me changeup. And then once COVID hit, I talked to my pitching coach back at Maryland, and we went over some stuff, and he was, basically like, you need a slider that's going to be a little bit harder, like a gyro slider, and then we got to keep working on the changeup, because even if you didn't need it, in those 4 games right there, like as you progress through your career, once you get into Big Ten play, once you get past that into pro ball, like you're going to need more than just those 2 pitches if you want to be a starter. So that was something I really dove into during COVID. And then, like I said, the next year, that off season going from 2021 to 2022, that was a lot of just the consistency of the shapes of all that. And just getting more comfortable with the command of it, the shape of it, how to throw it, when I'm going to use the pitches and what counts versus what hitters. So in 2022 for me, I feel like the curveball got a lot better just from like the 2020, 2021 season. And then for me, the changeup got a lot better too. And that's something that, even right now, that's still something I'm trying to consistently work on. But I think towards the end of 2022, the confidence I got with throwing the changeup has been something that I can really use going forward.
Right. That's good to know, because it's the starter repertoire, as you keep going up in the ranks, right? You need more offerings, and you need more offerings you can command. You can't just have, you can't be a starter in this league with 2 pitches and you can maybe throw the other ones, right? Like you got to have 3-4 things you can go to and actually trust in different situations, right?
No, 100%,
so that's a big factor. For sure. And it's cool that you were kind of able to find the feel for both those pitches over that season. Looking into 2023, right? You only made 9 starts last year, right? You were dealing with the shoulder stuff. It's the injuries can derail you even when you're pitching. I think it just seemed like you weren't fully healthy last year for most of the year, right? And then you got shut down in June and have kind of been rehabbing since. So where are you at now with just your arm, how you're feeling, and just your outlook going into this season?
Yeah. So, 2023 is obviously a rough year for me, kind of, on the field and just like mentally that takes the toll on you, just, knowing that you're capable of so much more, and then you're going out there and your body never feels good, even on, on the off days when you're not even pitching. Like it's tough to get your arm ready to go just to play catch when you're not feeling 100%. Looking back, I probably would have gone about some things a little bit differently that year to kind of make it a little bit easier on myself and, give myself a better shot to pitch and be healthy sooner this year. But regardless, I can't change any of that now. So now I'm in a much better spot now where I'm in Arizona right now. I'm still building up from the injury from last year. I guess still hurt, quote unquote, but my shoulder's feeling a lot better. I'm facing hitters and live ABs again now. So I should be back into, affiliate play in the next month or two. And now it's just kind of about, feeling good again, getting the consistency of everything back, and building the workload up. I'll still get a little bit sore sometimes here and there, but it's more just the build up sore as opposed to, kind of the pain I was getting before.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it also can't be easy, right? When you were in a situation last year where like you had a chance to make the roster, the MLB roster at some point last season, right? So when you go into a year and you have that kind of like excitement factor of like, man, I could make the majors this year. Like, this is really cool. Of course you want to keep throwing, and of course you want to work through everything you're working through, right? That is completely understandable. But at the same time, like it just, your body wasn't there and your shoulder was bothering you, right? So it's like, now it's great to hear that you're feeling good, and also just have, the outlook of like, you're going to get back, you're going to get into things, and you're already facing live hitters too, which is great. Have you noticed kind of how is your arsenal, then the arsenal we just talked about kind of in 2022, how is that playing so far, or have you gotten to the point of, fully throwing off speed yet?
So last week was the first time I faced hitters, and that was the first outing I felt like, wow, I'm really starting to feel normal again with how, my stuff's moving, how the ball feels out of my hand, like kind of the ease of the ability to like command stuff, to just create velocity again and the shapes of the pitches. So I feel like I'm on track to getting back to, kind of the normal me and feeling like myself again.
That's awesome. That's good to hear for sure. So you're facing live hitters, right? And you said hoping to get back to affiliate. I assume obviously you got to Charlotte, but whether it's Birmingham or Charlotte, wherever it might be, you're going to get some innings under your belt. Do you have, I don't know if you have this yet, but do you have a general kind of idea of an innings that you're hoping to hit this year, or just kind of the amount of games you'd like to get into potentially in the minor league season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to still make, at least 15, 16 starts. I'm thinking the way it looks right now, I should be back, at least get to pitch in the months of June, July, August, September, at the minimum if everything keeps going well. So, but as of right now, I'm just kind of taking it day by day, week by week, just, making sure everything feels good, staying on top of my stuff each day, and not really trying to rush anything, just making sure I'm feeling good and I'm feeling 100% before we keep taking that steps forward. So that's been what we've been doing since February, since I've been out here, and it's been progressing well. So I think that's, kind of our plan is they're just saying, this is what you got this week, this is what you got next week. Let's get through this. Let's get through today, and let's get through this week before we worry about anything going forward. And that's been working so far. So it's kind of just, stay the course with that, and keep taking care of my body, and everything will keep going well, hopefully.
Yeah, it sounds like the exact outlook you should be having, and we're excited to see you get back on the mound
Yeah.
in the minors soon enough. Being around, in Arizona this spring, what do you kind of get the sense of in just like the organizational pitching depth? I know you obviously spend more time around pitchers, even if you're rehabbing, right? Like I'm sure you've got to see a variety of the new pitchers brought in last year, whether it's the prospects, the major league guys. Like I think the general like consensus around people that follow the White Sox is like the organizational pitching is in a better spot than it's been in a while. What do you think about just seeing all the pitching talent in Arizona this spring and just in the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're definitely in a much better spot than my first year here, first 2 years here, really. I think we got a lot of talented guys, obviously from the trades, from the drafts. That it's not just like we have one or two guys. Like there's definitely some more pitching depth we have in the organization than years past. I think that's obviously good for the big league club. I think guys can get caught up like looking at or comparing, how I'm doing versus how this guy's doing, or how this guy's doing versus another guy. And I think for me personally, like I'm just trying to, like I said, just get back to doing what I'm doing. And then once I get to the affiliates, even talking to those guys, because I think it's good to get perspectives on people from different organizations and how, I know we get some guys from the Dodgers, we get some guys from the Angels, and just talking to them about, what did they do at that org that they liked versus what they do here, just bouncing ideas off them. I think that can help, all of us kind of elevate our game to the highest level.
Yeah, sharing opinions and having that vast knowledge from all different sources, even some of the veteran guys that were brought in this offseason, right? Like you've got vets right now who have been on different teams and have seen the way different pitching coaches run things and organizational drills and all that stuff, right? There's so many different layers to continuing to learn in a communal way. Beyond that, like, is there anything, this is pivoting off the baseball side of things briefly. Is there anything that you've done kind of as you've been working on your recovery, whether it be since July or even this offseason, this spring, things off the field that have kind of just helped you maintain your balance and just stay kind of locked in, but also enjoy yourself?
I think I started playing a lot more basketball, not playing games necessarily, but like always just kind of going to the park and shooting around just to kind of clear my head. I think I did that a lot in Charlotte. Once I got shut down in June, I was probably in Charlotte for another month or so, just seeing if I could rehab it there and bounce back quicker. And like I said, that was kind of a tough time mentally for me, where I was just like every day going to the grind of not feeling great and, wondering when my shoulder was finally going to start feeling better. So that was something, I played growing up, and that was something I always enjoyed. So being able to take, an hour and go shoot a little bit and just kind of listen to some music, clear my head, do stuff like that. I mean, this off season, I live with Cole Montgomery in the off season. So, having him there, obviously we both play baseball. We both love baseball, but I feel like the conversations we have when we're just chilling at the house, it's like it's never about baseball. So I mean, he does a good job. Maybe we both do a good job, like keeping the good balance of, when we're at the field, we're working hard, we're very attentive to the work that we put in and making sure that we're putting in quality work. But then once we get home, it's kind of like, all right, like let's decompress, let's go play video games, let's go watch a football game, like let's go do something else other than baseball, so we're not doing that 24/7. So I think the balance we have with that this offseason also helped with just like keeping the mind free, not worrying too much about what's going to happen with everything.
Definitely. No, it's important to keep that balance and keep your mentality not just completely focused on, your shoulder and everything else you got going on. Like you said, I know you obviously spent some time being drafted with him, and then now you said you live with him this offseason. How special can Colson be, briefly? Well,
really special.
What do you see? Yeah.
He's a stud. Yeah, I think that, everybody draws a comparison to him to Corey Seager. I think he has all the ability in the world to be the player of that caliber. Just like the raw talent he has, like watching him go and work in the offseason in the cage with, a lot of guys that are bona fide big league guys, like Brandon Lau from the Rays. Jake Berger was down in Nashville with us hitting, Vinny Pasquantino with the Royals, like a lot of big league guys that he fits right in with them, and like he doesn't look out of place at all. So for him to do that at such a young age, I think is really impressive. And he's only going to get better as he keeps playing more. And he's kind of the same thing. Like he he played basketball, he played football growing up, so like he was never really focused on solely baseball until he got drafted. So I mean, this is what year 3 for him of only
Right.
playing baseball, where it's like, you know, years 5, 6, 7, 8 of him only playing baseball are like that's just going to be more and more impressive. He's going to be able to show who he is really more and more in these next couple of years as he gets more opportunities to show, what he can do at the big league level.
Yeah, we're pretty pumped to see where things
Yeah.
take him for sure.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully, you'll be in Charlotte with him soon enough,
Yeah.
and that'll be awesome to get to play together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anybody else that whether it's live BP that you've been throwing in Arizona or just guys that you saw? Is there any other hitters that kind of you've either faced or just have seen that you've been like particularly impressed by on the prospect side of things?
Within our organization.
Yeah, or others, honestly.
So a guy that I've played with a little bit, I've played a little bit high, a little bit in Double A, and then has looked really good again this spring is Brian Ramos. I mean, he's another stud. A guy like Colson, I think they're a similar age, where he's just kind of mature baseball wise, like beyond his age. Like the swing's really good. Obviously, the physical talent's there, but to see him too, like he works hard every single day. Like he has a good idea of what he wants to do. And then obviously you guys see the on-field play is impressive too. So I'd say definitely him. I mean, another guy that we just drafted last year coming off Tommy John too that I've been rehabbing out here with is Grant Taylor, and he's looked really good in his live ABs too. So I'd definitely say those two guys were young guys that just since I've been out here this year have looked really good.
Awesome. We're excited about Taylor too. That's another guy.
Yeah.
That was it's rehab is tough, right? But it's like
Yeah.
once you get back, there's so much upside to be excited about there. Well, we are super excited to see you get back on the mound, man. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling good and the arm's good. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us about where you're at right now.
Yeah, of course. No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man.